Hey everybody, this is Rydo. Today we're going to be spotlighting Super Meat Boy, so let's watch this intro. Kind of a classic Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers intro style game. Here's the good guy, here's the bad guy. Actually, I guess it would be a classic Donkey Kong game intro. Because certainly Donkey Kong had the bad guy kidnap the girl. And certainly that's been was happening for decades before video games and radio dramas and movies and stories. So this is the 2010 game Super Meat Boy, the remake of a Flash game just called Meat Boy, created by two people, one of which went on to make my favorite, The Binding of Isaac series. I do want to say that getting this game to run is kind of a problem, at least for my computer. I had to go in into the NVIDIA settings of my computer and specifically enable VSync or vertical synchronization to get it to not show all the animations at the exact same time and severely slow down the game in the way that it sped everything up. So just everything was happening so fast that even my CPU couldn't handle it. And even in the gameplay sections, it was a slower experience. As for other settings, or settings that are actually in the game, you just have a very loud music and sound effects, and resolution, which by defaulted to 1080p and full screen, which is the monitor I'm at, and you really don't have anything else. Control wise, you don't really have anything you can do. You have a button to jump and a X button on the Xbox controller to run or do a special, and it apparently very specifically wants you to only run using the D-pad for control, I suppose. So that's kind of all we need to know. So let's hop into the game. I played a couple of levels, so we're going to start over at the beginning. These cutscenes too would just speed through it without vertical sync enabled. Dr. Fetus just punched Bandage Girl, and this is a reference to Street Fighter 1, by the way, if you didn't recognize that intro. There's all kinds of challenges in this game. If you look at the lower bar, there's a 3-minute checkpoint and a 5.7 5 minutes 70 seconds, I guess, is what that's supposed to be as far as finishing the entire chapter. There's also at the top bar 20 bandages you're supposed to collect, and a completeness that starts at 0 and goes upwards from that. But I don't believe it ends at 100. I believe it goes further. Now this series, I don't know what to really call it yet, but I am thinking I'm recording this in at least the spirit of a never gonna finish it November, or new content November, depending on how you want to phrase that. You can see I'm going towards Bandage Girl and supposed to platform and jump and fling myself, which is perfectly safe and fine to do right now as we're watching this replay. You can save the replay. This is very much a speedrunner's game, and I'm very much not a speedrunner. I have arthritis in my hands, and this is a game that's always scared me, because even though I can play it on a controller, it definitely feels like something that would kill my fingers very quickly. You can play with the left stick, but in all honesty, even I can tell that that's not what you want to do. There is a level of just graphic violence, even in these pixely cute, cutesy square characters, in which Dr. Fetus is just punching the ground every time. So now it's saying in a tutorial to run, and there we have our first official death, and that gave me a grade of an A+. I imagine, as you're looking at replays, the reason why you leave this meat blood trail is because you want to limit the amount of time you're actually touching things, so that you can stay in the air as much as possible. But you can see that they are introducing the idea of these spikes and these buzzsaws, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So there's our first bandage. There's all kinds of achievements on Steam for this. But honestly, I'm not going to get them all. I can tell you immediately. I'm not sure how much of this game I'm really going to play. This may just be a spotlight, like I said at the beginning. Or this may turn into a bit of a longer experience. You can see that this is an incredibly lack of tight controls game. And only an expert, only somebody who was obsessive about playing this. Apparently there was a vortex up there, but it disappears after a certain time. I imagine that vortex would have taken me to some secret level. But you can see here, I'm not doing great at the very beginning. My fingers, I'm just old, frankly. Like, they talk about how esports players, they get too old and they get these sports injuries of their hands, and it's pretty much the case for me. Although, in all fairness, the arthritis in my fingers probably has very little to do with video games, although it would probably be a 4th or 5th contributor. I spent, as a person who is classically trained as a programmer, I spent many a year typing a lot. I worked a job that involved 8 hours consistently of typing. Here we are getting introduced to the saw blades for real this time. So I'm having to do longer jumps with the special ability. And yeah, working a job where, and you can see now the replay is showing where you died to make it more useful. And I think it goes back quite a way. 50, maybe even 100 copies of yourself. I wouldn't know the exact real number, but I've seen instances of people having replays that were very high in the number of in the number of deaths in a run. And I've seen speedruns of this game, so I know at the very end there is this giant boss fight. And you can certainly get into scenarios where you kill yourself over and over again just because you lose focus. So yeah, this game terrifies me. Even as I'm playing it, it just seems like it's not... It seems like also you only get grades at a certain level. And the walls in that instance started falling down. Although in the replay they're not falling down. Interesting. Like, I'm a little surprised I can even get as far as I've gotten in this game. Like, I was certainly thinking of going through... There is quite a considerable list of games I have on my Steam account, which I have about 920 games right now, in theory, but when you really break it down to the ones I want to play, the ones I can play, the ones that have any real relevancy at all, it gets down a lot further. Also, you have to eliminate all the games I've already played and covered for my channel. Also, some of the games just straight up are too long. Like, right now I'm in the middle of a break of playing Borderlands 2, as an example. In Borderlands 2, I put 60 hours into it to do the main story, and even at that, it felt like I had done 100 hours of gameplay. Generally, in the Mario sense, you can see there's a vortex in the top left, so I'd have to figure out some way of getting a air control, air brake to turn around and get on that ledge to get up there before that vortex disappeared, and that's not going to happen. So I think you probably have to do something like this. For the safety strategy. And there's clearly going to be a desire, if you do these levels, to make that final jump land directly on Bandage Girl like I did. There, you don't want to over jump her and have to turn around. But that really is for speedrunners. And this really is one of those games that that really is more interesting to watch somebody else play than it is to try and play yourself in a speedrun strategy. Although on occasions it is uninteresting to watch a speedrun because they don't bother to actually play the game the right way. They will often clip through areas and do cheats that doesn't allow you to actually watch the cutscenes or understand at all what's happening in the game. But yeah, this is totally a speedrunner's game where you're not going to get very many story elements anyways, since this is all designed around this. And you can feel the history of a Flash game in this. Let's see. Apparently that kills you. Interesting. I would have assumed that going off the edge of the screen would have been a secret, but apparently not. That kind of sucks. Why is that not just an invisible wall if that was what you wanted to do? It's hard to really criticize Super Meat Boy though, too much. It's exactly what people, I think, want when they think about a super hard game. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I stream Hearthstone and look at every single, or nearly every single game that comes out on Steam. And Super Meat Boy clone style games, I did not mean to do that, are very, very common. And very, very often they are way worse quality than this 8-year-old game is. And in fact, Super Meat Boy Forever is an infinite runner from the actual creators of this. Was there some secret in causing the rabbit to die there? Wow, it looks like that slowed down for me. And I'm sure most people would say, oh, this is the easy stuff, and I've seen people do levels like this where it's hop, 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 and they do it on the first try, no problem whatsoever. I can't even get the jumping right. This is one of those games where holding A will give you more air. So if I tap A, I go that high. If I hold A, I go that high, and you can find any amount in between, which means you have to then calculate how that works in your system. Frankly, in this instance, coming down to the lower level is pointless. You probably couldn't ever get back up. Actually, unless there's some special jump I could do. I'd prefer more, I don't want to say intellectual games, but tricky games. So I'd love it if it turned out you could just walk this way and you walked onto the other side of the screen and touched Bandage Girl, and that they made it fairly inobvious that that was the case, and that all of this danger really could be avoided. But that's not what this game certainly is. This is a die over and over again, and the positions and everything reset every time you die. So it's not like you're getting bad RNG. You're just falling and failing over and over again. The part that's weird is the fact that this the camera moves when you touch Bandage Girl to imply that there is more screen. So there's a decent example of a long replay, and a pretty good example of why I think this does qualify as a never gonna finish it game. Unfortunately, because of extra work that got added because of Hearthstone and the Boomsday puzzle projects, I opted to do some special behind the scenes work to get those videos made at the expense of having time to record series. So it is uncertain. Man, I was so close there. Way closer than I deserve to be on the first try. Whether the time slot that this airs in will have anything else in it for November. It's really just going to come down to how many other games I can look through. There's a lot of games that last year I covered that I got free. This is not a game that I got for free. I got it in some humble bundle probably for some other game, which that's fine to play games that are slightly out of your league. This is clearly a game that is out of my league. So I might go through some more free games and make something that make a series that airs every Monday and just cover 4 games for November instead of every weekday, which is quite a lot of footage, but it's better than nothing. I've, even before the Hearthstone Boomsday puzzle episodes, I was falling further and further behind. There's a seasonal affective disorder certainly that affects me, and it seemed to kind of start even earlier, where I was just constantly getting further and further behind and making less footage. And it's really just come down to the fact that I got too ambitious, and having 4 or 5 different things air every weekday, different game series air, was just too much work for me. And so I'm trying to get back to a more reasonable amount. So I got the bandage there, but it didn't help me any. And I don't know why I'm specifically trying to get the bandage anyways. Like, I don't know what that matters at all. Yeah, there's literally no way I could do this. This is just too demanding. Let's see. You can switch characters. If I had bandages, the way the characters play are slightly different, but in most speedruns I've seen it mostly just be Meat Boy that plays it. Let's exit to the map. If I could get through one more level, I could take on the first boss. And then I could be sort of satisfied with that as a spotlight. This is one of those games that, yeah, I kind of know whether you want to play it or not. This only gets harder. This only gets more complicated. They don't really add too much in the sense that I don't know how to put this, but there's no checkpoints in this game, and that's another killer. And there's like no time rewind mechanic. As a side project about a year ago, I built a RetroArch LibRetro device that would play emulations of old games, like NES games, and it had built in a feature just to rewind time. This would be the exact kind of game you would want something like that in, just so you could undo your mistake and not have to start from the beginning. I was thinking just yesterday that so many Prince of Persia Sands of Time clones that came out after that needed to have a time rewind mechanism, and it doesn't really have to be explained in the game at all. It can just be like, look, this is a video game, you can rewind time if you want to. Like, my video game criticism is going to quickly merge with just my frustration with this game that I'm already having. And I knew this was a game that was not for me from the beginning. Like, it only took a second to see the gameplay to go, yeah, this is not a game for somebody who puts themselves more as a casual gamer than a hardcore good gamer. But yeah, if there was a time rewind mechanic, you'd save yourself a lot of effort, and it would open up the programmers of this game to have made bigger levels and put in checkpoints and not really have to do it level by level, which is an old school way of doing things, quite frankly. You don't generally break up things into levels anymore. It's more of an open world scenario. Look at Super Mario Odyssey compared to Super Mario 64. In Super Mario 64, everything is in a painting, every level is unique and instanced in that painting. Super Mario Odyssey, it's an entire open world where you can do many multiple scenarios at the same time, if not all the scenarios at the same time, without too much effort. You don't want to get away from the game, and every time it fades to black for half a second here, it's taking control away from the player and just making it more frustrating. And the dissolve rate on these sandboxes are not long enough for any hesitation. See, and that immediately is a failure, because you're going to need at least 2 sandboxes at the bottom on both columns. And mental energy, physical energy, and pressing buttons, all of that is dissolving away. Let's see. Oh, that's good enough. That is good enough for me. I'm not gonna make it. I guess we can take on the boss without doing that, though. So... This is the same attitude as The Binding of Isaac without the Binding of Isaac Christian references. So it just threw you in there without really telling you that you were in the game. It really needed something above that to say game start. Alright, and that tells me I can't beat this guy because I can get to this point and I would have to get through this, and I don't think I can do that. You can see there's a bunch of little squirrels and things that are at the very bottom of the screen, and they're running into the buzzsaw and adding blood to the mess. Yep, and I probably could get through this first section, to be fair, eventually, but not with any real consistency or with any real sense of satisfaction, because even if I beat it right now, it would just be a relief of frustration, not really a sense of pride and accomplishment. And you can't take on this guy in any way, he'll just kill you. And imagine for each of the worlds there's a boss fight like this. And I may very well have been at the end there. But honestly, I kind of don't care, too. This is really just feels like a waste of time. Since I was checked out from the beginning. And certainly this is an experience that I'm sure a lot of gamers eventually run into if they end up buying the wrong game or end up playing a game they're not interested in, is you know it's too difficult. This feels very much like a badly made Nintendo game, Nintendo Entertainment System or Famicom game, designed to be impossible to win, designed with no care whether it was winnable or not. Because of that, there's just a lot of one-hit kills. One-hit kills very out of fashion for modern games. If this was a Mario game, you'd have an infinite number of lives and an infinite number of coins, and you just bounce back, and there would never be any real chance of you dying. Or even if you did die, it would just pause the screen right at that point. I'd severely need this game to be modded for noobs. I would just need this to make it to be so much easier. And I get how that would be just a complete and total betrayal of what their artistic vision was. Like, you can see in the fact that it is just a ball of meat, and it's all about blood and dying and killing small animals, that this is kind of an edgelord style of game, attitude at least. and I don't really mean that too much as an insult, but yeah, they definitely wanted this to be hard, and in it being hard probably got it in people's minds a lot more, because I imagine there was a ton of other Flash platformers out when Meat Boy, not Super Meat Boy, which is what we're playing now, was out. So by this being extremely difficult, it caught more people's attention and stayed in the public's mind a little bit longer. Although I would still call this a very niche game. Just something that is not for your average player, something that is not really going to help you. And I don't even really think that this is too much as far as translating skills to other games, because these are skills that are necessary for playing old games, not modern games. Most modern games are first-person shooters of some ilk and are super easy, and it's just not a translatable skill. Even if you were playing something like Dota or StarCraft, I don't think there's anything in what I'm doing right now that translates to some of those esport games. So at the end of all my episodes, I ask people, one of the ways they can support me is they can friend me on Steam and gift me games. I do want to point out, this is the kind of game I generally don't put on my wish list and generally wouldn't want to play. I might try Super Meat Boy Forever since it's an infinite runner and slightly different, and I think this probably is the best like hardcore platformer, air jump, air braking, tight controlled game out there. But honestly, I think it's only for people that are really, really into that, and I'm just not one of them. So let's call it quits at that point. Like, I'm not gonna beat the boss. We could come out here to the other map, which is called Super Meat World, and see this cutscene, I suppose. This might be some DLC, or let's see. This kind of seems like this is content that is featured and uploaded by other people. Interesting. So, oddly, it also seems like the controller support does not work here. So, let's just do this first one, and then hope the controller support starts again. So, this certainly got popular enough, and now I'm playing as a different character. And you can see this is a nightmare. This is a total and complete nightmare. And character switch is disabled. Let's see. There's the unknown. I'm too young to die. Let's see what that does. That should be the easiest of the easiest puzzles, just randomly selected online. And this is supposed to be the easiest? Like, I guess that is kind of easy. I didn't see this green. I thought this was the only platform starting here. I didn't see that there was this whole green platform down lower. Okay, that was pretty easy. And then you can either vote up or down the puzzle. Let's see. And there was a nice level look, but the editor couldn't put it up. Sorry. Oh, so they made their entire level. See, that one used fans. That's something we didn't even see. And here we have one that's just MS Paint drawn. So some people have gotten really into this. Although, how can you... I'm not even sure you can see the little gray dot on the right side of the screen. And see, this again is a level designed to look like it's text when it really isn't. This one is all gravity based, and it looks like you can pretty much just press right. Yeah, this looks like it's a just press right level. I don't even know how he's doing this. But clearly I needed to work my way up to get a key. So yeah, if you love Super Meat Boy, there's a lot here. Definitely a lot here to do. But you have to be in that niche. You have to actually like the game. There are more levels than just the forest, chapter 1. I guarantee you that. I simply can't get any further behind that. So let's see, statistics and gamer tags and best overall times. I guess this is me. I guess this is somebody who's friended me on Steam, which I ask everybody to do. Global scores, on the other hand, I imagine there's a lot better scores. Statistics wise, total deaths, 153 deaths, total progress 6% of the game, 16% of the light world, 0% of the dark world. I imagine those portals that I kept missing are the dark world. And replays seem to get automatically saved, which is interesting. There are achievements on this. I would, again, since it's such an incredibly difficult game, I really wouldn't go for 100% achievements on this game. And since Steam only really highlights games that you 100% accomplish, all the achievements, it kind of stops making sense to try to do something like that for hard games. That's going to be it for the spotlight. I'm probably never going to play this game again, which is, to be fair, I've already put 40 minutes into playing a game I knew I was probably never going to play anyways. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. And when you subscribe, click the notification bell, please. Doing all of that stuff helps me with YouTube, tells them that my videos are worth watching. If you want to friend or follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, Battle.net, all of those links are down below, and probably some more. And if you want to support me even further, there's two ways. Like I said before, you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist, or a game you'd like to see me cover, or just gift me a gift card, or you can support me monthly through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.